Good evening, everybody. Welcome to take two on how AI comes into the design thinking process. Some of you might have joined us in March, I think it was, or February, I think it was. Um, and we've had a lot of interest in the topic of how to bring AI into the design thinking process because it's the one thing you don't think about, right? We say that AI is not able to do empathy. Design thinking is all about empathy. So how does it come in? And so Desmond and I had a chat and we thought, why don't we take another look at this, but for this round, make it very practical and really ask the question, what an AI assisted design thinking session could look like. Desmond, anything to add in there before we jump in?
I think all good from here. I'm just looking forward to starting.
That's great. We're going to ask for a lot of engagement from you. Please, come in, help us be part of it as we go, because we're going to make it very practical. We're going to be walking through, quote unquote, a live design thinking session. All right. So as you can see on the screen, I hope you can see the screen. Yeah. We have a mural board that we're going to be working from. So what we did is we pasted the poster on the mural board, and we're going to be moving around on the board. Okay, it's refreshing. I'm not in the internet dropped for a second. So when it comes back, we'll move to the typical design thinking double diamond model. And we'll just very briefly talk about what the design thinking process will normally look like on a design thinking double diamond model. And then we'll work through a very famous design thinking exercise, but leveraging on AI. All right, the screen is back. So just down here on the board below the poster, that part is still loading, is our design thinking double diamond. It's going to pop up in a moment. Yeah, there it comes. So typically what you see here is the flow of the design thinking process, and underneath this, a list of tools, a list of tools. And as we said in our last session, we asked the question, how can AI help us in using each of these tools, right? So if you look at Discover, you're doing immersion, questionnaires, interviews, and so forth. And we talked through a number of scenarios in which AI can help us do that. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to go through this process very quickly, but for a very famous exercise that's often used in introducing design thinking. So on my screen here is some random site that we pulled up, and it has here Design Thinking 101, design the ideal wallet. So the design of an ideal wallet is one of the exercises that is normally used to teach design thinking, to introduce design thinking all over the world, right? And the way it normally starts is step one, they'll ask you to design a wallet for a neighbor, like three minutes. And then you show it to the neighbor and then ask them what they think about it. And now you will interview the person about what they would want in a wallet. And then you dig deeper and so forth. And then now you go on and you capture your findings about what the person is trying to do when they use a wallet, insights that you gather, and then you come up with a point of view, and then now you go and sketch out the wallet that you were trying to sketch out, but this time with the person's input, right? So this idea that when you don't empathize with people and you go and straight into designing, you will normally design things that you want, not things that they want. So the wallet example is really good for demonstrating design thinking. You can do this in 30 minutes. I've seen people doing like 10 minutes, right? First start off, design a wallet, then you interview the user, they give you insights and so forth. We thought that if we want to look at how AI can help with the design thinking process, why not go back and use the exact same exercise that is often used in introducing design thinking? Desmond, anything to add here?
Okay, so probably just a top up. So the
Mm.
sort of mindset behind this is actually still leveraging on the design thinking process in the problem solving approach. So I'm just reiterating the fact that this is not just limited to the wallet exercise, but in relation to any other concepts that you have, any ideas you are thinking of working through, anything that you are trying to do or create. The premise of the session today is as you would normally go through the design thinking process or say facilitate a design sprint to make that happen. This is how it would look like when you integrate AI into your sprint as well. Yeah.
That's good. So we're going to jump right in. Normally, when you have a problem, like what is the ideal wallet to design for people? You start with what the problem is, what the causes are, what the effects are, and then who are the stakeholders that are impacted by bad wallet design, right? So we want to, of course, we're simulating the process, right? So we want people to help us with certain people that we might want to design a wallet for. So anybody wants to, we can just hear from you and then we will type into normally we'll send you the link to the mural, but we don't have a lot of time, so we're going to do it ourselves. So let's hear from you. Who would you want to design for? Who are the kinds of people who typically will need to use a wallet?
Also, if you can't talk, you can also just freely type in the chat what your suggestions
Into the
are.
chat. We have a number of facilitators here who should be able to help us as well. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, can I answer?
Yeah. Go for it, buddy.
Yeah, so someone who typically use
Hi,
a
Philip.
wallet. Yeah, hi. Might be a student, a young, type of student
Okay.
who would want to have a wallet. Yeah.
Okay. You can add one if you want, and somebody else can add.
And a business owner.
Okay. And that's one you can also type any that you see in the chat because I can't see the chat right now. Thank you, Philip. I think I saw Eugene type something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so Eugene suggested a wallet for a military officer.
Okay. Maybe we can get another one.
And I think sometimes for the context of some of these exercises, going on a tangent is quite interesting. So if there are any other crazy ideas or like example, wallet for a baby, for example, it could also be an interesting thing to explore. So don't be shy about your suggestions or anything of the sort. Okay, I see working mothers.
Now let's pick one that we want to design for.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 options. Prof, should we just number them so that it's easier for people to just pick which number they want?
So maybe we can have some suggestions in the chat, and then the one that appears more than once, we will use that. So maybe this one you can tell us what we want to do next in terms of the.
So there are actually 2 votes for working mothers at the moment.
All right, let's go there. All right. So basically here on the green, I'm just going to say that our user, the one we want to design for, a working mother with a 2-year-old baby. I'm
I
just
think
throwing
we'll
this out there.
explore a bit further when we go into the persona creation. So for now, we could leave it a bit more.
So the idea here is that in the traditional design thinking process, this would be stakeholder mapping is a good way of getting a sense of who we really want to solve a problem for. Why? Because when we go out to go do ethnography, we are going to focus on this user. We will study other types of users and even non-users, but this will be our focal user. So here we'll be going in to understand the life of working mothers, how they handle money, how they handle little things that will go into a wallet, how they handle wallets, what they do with it, how they store it, how they carry it around, how they use it. We'll try to understand all of that. But so now that we have something, we're going into the field. What can AI do for us? So here we have a prompt where AI can help us really narrow down on who this persona is. Over to you, Desmond.
I think as we're doing it, since we want this to be interactive, if to the audience, if you have any inputs or indicators that you like us to lean towards, we could do that. So what we are coming to do here is, whereas previously we would kind of brainstorm a lot and then try and find out the different considerations for what the persona could be, and then go out to look for them. We're going to be using AI to actually just pick off the points that are suggested by the audience, and then have a ChatGPT create a persona around such a person for us. So any inputs or insights or any ideas anybody has on what or how the working mother should be, would love that. So please feel free. So like, for example, where Prof was suggesting maybe a mother with a 2-year-old, you could suggest maybe what kind of profession she's in. You could suggest her age. You could suggest, again, the age of the child. So it's just open for any inputs that anybody might have. Yeah.
You can just go on and add a few, because of time, just go on and add a few.
Okay. Andrew mentioned a 32-year-old, so I'll input that. So if you have any suggestions, just put them in the chat as well. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Derry.
Can you sound them out so we can put it on here, or do you want to just directly put it in?
I am putting it directly in ChatGPT, but I would also just mention them out. So Derry
Okay, so I'll put it here.
Andrew suggested a 32-year-old, and Derry followed up with she's a PR officer who needs to keep and distribute a lot of business cards.
Okay. Can you show your ChatGPT page, and then I will just update it on this side.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it. So just talk us through
Oh,
it. This is just a typical ChatGPT page that you opened, yeah?
sure. Yeah, so this is just a typical conversation in ChatGPT. I have a plugin installed right now which kind of helps with your prompt writing. So I know one of the challenges recently is how to, properly phrase certain things for ChatGPT. So the different things you see here is just from a plugin that I have for ChatGPT to kind of help it be more productive for me. So you would have Mid-Journey prompt generator, which is like an image generator. Would be using one along the way. You have rewrite like a human, write a book. There are so many different ways, but yeah. So with this, we're just going to input some of the suggestions that we got. So we'll just type it in at the bottom here. So create a persona of a 32-year-old working mother who is a PR officer. Okay, who is a PR officer who needs to keep and distribute a lot of business cards. Almost forgot how to spell business. Okay. So she's physically handicapped.
Will physically handicapped not dramatically impact our...
I think what we can actually do is create a persona in two different regards. We can still create so one of the upsides of ChatGPT is we can create one persona or use one prompt and create multiple personas out of it by just changing certain elements. So for example, in this context, we can have it create a persona of somebody who has all the same characteristics but is physically handicapped versus kind of a normal go-getter without any disability. And then we see what the different contexts are. If you can see, you see that ChatGPT is literally creating a whole backstory for this person that we've inputted. And yeah, it can give you a very, very, very lengthy description of that person. So it could literally simulate the person. But for the context of this session, we'll just ask it to summarize it for us in relation to her need for a wallet. So we could just say it that way. So, okay. So now it's taking all the different paragraphs it wrote, and then it's just putting it into like 4 or 5 main key areas. So I'll just quickly read these out. I'll not read the entire thing, so just a little bit. So Sarah is a 32-year-old PR officer and a working mother who faces unique challenges due to a physical disability and busy life. She needs a specialized wallet that takes care of her specific needs. One, accessibility. Sarah requires a wallet that is easily accessible, manageable despite her physical disability. It should be designed to allow her to retrieve and store items like business cards effortlessly, considering her use of a wheelchair. So in this case, it's suggesting that the context of her physical disability is that maybe she cannot walk, right? So this is the premise that it has given us. But if we want a more specific demographic or a more specific context, then we could tell it what her disability is, and then it will rephrase it. But then let's just go ahead. So again, something that she can easily organize. Yeah, wallets that can easily keep her organized, compartments or sections for different items, security-wise. Since she has to juggle multiple tasks while she takes care of her 2-year-old daughter, the secure wallet is essential. It should have features that prevent items from falling out or getting lost during her daily activities. Considering Seda heavily relies on her smartphone and assistive technology, sorry, an ideal alert would integrate these devices. For example, it could have a smart tracker or be compatible with mobile apps for locating misplaced items. And durability and adaptability, it needs to withstand her daily use, be adaptable to various situations, whether she's at work, attending events, or spending time with her daughter. So again, this is just a very quick summary, albeit very detailed, of some of the requirements that they gave her Sarah, right? That Sarah would need. Any inputs,
Right.
questions, thoughts so far?
Right. So this will be typically still part of the problem scoping process. You haven't really done the research yet. So here you have something to go to the field with. You have certain markers to then help you with your interview. Things like accessibility, organization, security integration, technology integration. What's the last one? Adaptability, something in adaptability.
Durability and adaptability.
Durability and adaptability. Yeah. Any thoughts on how, as we go along, it would be good to talk about positives and negatives. Papa, Eugene, any thoughts on the positives or negatives of something like this? You're running a design thinking session, you use AI to generate some sort of pre-research themes going into the research.
Wow. So, my initial comment will be the point about the empathy process. So, it can be a bit of a different experience if I have a person I know I have in front of me that I can describe and all of that. Two things could happen. I could do it so well and better than what ChatGPT is doing, or I could have feelings in the way I do it, and then run to ChatGPT to enhance it for me, because ChatGPT has the capability of providing much more information or context. So that's what I suspect will happen with that whole process of empathizing. But the beautiful thing is, and it just happened, when ChatGPT gave the whole context, if we knew that particular professional woman with the peer, we could have easily looked at it and say, ChatGPT, this is not correct, this is not correct. Let's just select the ones which are relevant and use it. So once again, the human element comes in. If we don't have a human person and we do this, when we finish, we could go out looking for a persona that represents the profile we develop, and then we can begin to make some comparisons. Okay. So the bottom line is that ChatGPT can help us get better, or can also throw us a bit of what is real. And that will represent both the positive and the negative side. These are my initial thoughts. I'm just watching the way we are doing it, and I'm imagining a whole lot of things. So I think my
Right.
plate.
Right. Other people, somebody else can join in, but Desmond, can you take us to the pictorial representation of the
Okay.
persona?
Before I do that, I'd like to just create a quick summary of Sarah, or maybe just so the one upside of ChatGPT is you can use it to create prompts for other generative AI tools. So in this case, we could ask it to create a prompt for us to visualize Sarah. Yeah, once again, it will write a whole lot, but let's just take first the first part. So imagine Sarah, a 32-year-old PR officer and a devoted mother, confidently maneuvering her wheelchair through the bustling conference hall. Despite her physical disability, Sarah's bright smile and determined spirits capture the attention of everyone she meets. So we'll just take this paragraph. And then there's this AI tool called Ideogram. So there are a number of them. There's Midjourney, there's Blue Willow, DALL-E, so many of them. But any of them work. But the upside of Ideogram is sometimes it can actually help you refine certain things by what it calls a magic prompt. So I'll just put this here, just the prompts that was generated, and then we'll see what it comes up with. So it starts by adding the magic prompt, and then in about maybe 30 seconds, would have something to, a face to put by the context or the person, Sarah. Oh yeah, one downside I'm sure we'd see is that they'll make it white. While you're working with AI tools, the more context you give it, the better. So here, since we didn't specify, it's giving us Sarah as a white person, but maybe let's make it so we can add onto the prompts to further refine what we want. So proud African. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, I saw Philomena has put in the chat. I think ChatGPT gives you a head start to getting to knowing your customer into bracket for businesses before going out to do customer research using design thinking. And I actually agree. So just to the previous points that was also made, I think you can use AI either for the before or the after of your process. So just as was mentioned, if you need some context where you would have made assumptions for certain context, or you'd have assumed what your personas were, you can use ChatGPT to help you to refine your assumptions. Or after you go out to do the research and get the sense of the persona, then you could come back into ChatGPT to refine what your findings are. So I think whichever angle you are taking it from, it becomes more or less a preference. Yeah.
I was just going to say the other interesting thing here is that as you go along, the different teams in your workshop will be presenting their work, right? So here you can have people really present personas like this, or take these generations and take them to other engines and refine them, right? So in the past, we would draw out, have somebody on the team draw the persona or, do visualization. And here we have apps that are doing the visualization for us. The question is it good? Are we losing too much? Or is it okay to redirect our drawing to digital, right? Anybody has thoughts about this?
So I think just to before maybe anybody comes on, to touch on Prof's point where you can use whatever AI generated to kind of further refine. Ideogram has whatever prompt you give it, it generates a magic prompt based off what your inputs are. So you don't need to have like a perfect prompt. It can help you with that. So you realize in our previous generations, it still gave us a few white people and all, but they're now using this, for example, which was closest to what we might be looking for. We can still just copy the prompts that it generated, paste it back in here, and then have it create kind of new variations or more specific variations of what we were looking for. So yeah, If there are any inputs, please feel free as we're waiting for the generation to finish.
I think one input would be, the storytelling part when you are presenting your work, after you have done all the work, is you are often challenged with getting the picture, a very good picture or image of your persona that you want to present with your storytelling. What this ideogram is doing is that we can actually do the full circle work, have a good idea of who our persona is, never really take pictures of them, and then come and generate it and use it for our presentation. And without having to plead with people, sign agreement and all of those things. Because here is an image that can easily depict your persona, and you go on with your innovation, your storytelling, and it's beautiful. You don't need to plead with anybody to get their image right and all of that. And you can actually design your persona to fit your narrative and sell a great story that your innovation works.
Right. Just I want us to try something. Let's take out handicapped, take out wheelchair, handicap access, and let's see how the wallet, because we're talking about wallets, right?
Wallet,
So, I mean, my fear at the beginning also was that if you bring in the wheelchair and the handicap, it's just gonna change.
Let me do this.
So now you have to take out the background of the crowd, because I think the concept of a wheelchair and inspiring people then that's why Sarah came up on. Now she's a presenter, she has a crowd behind her, she's inspiring them. But then that's getting away from the concept of where we started from, which is, designing a wallet, right? So let's change that and see what happens.
Let's just shorten it back to one line, right? It will still give us the context.
Can we add something about wallets and having to distribute cards?
Pardon?
Can we add something about wallets and having to distribute cards? Because I think that's missing.
Okay. Yeah, I think let me just pick one of these. Take out. It's just for some context, so. Okay, so without that context, let's see what it gives us. Yeah, so it just gives us Sarah as the person. So if you want to kind of visualize Sarah as a person, we get this. But then adding in this bit, that's adding in the backstory with the wallet as well. Okay. So in this context, it's basically prompt to us. It didn't generate. Okay. So it's just adding in the wallet as an additional detail to the image of Sarah. So I think if we want something more specific, then the generation should rather focus on the wallet than on Sarah as the person, right?
Right. Which is very interesting, right? Because here, if we're saying that we're doing AI assisted design thinking, and I'm going to throw this, and I know Eugene's is providing a lot of support. Please continue to do that. If you run a session, then it's like you sort of have to teach the teams how to do prompting, right? And how to sort of edit prompts and the tricks around it and so forth. Is that what we need to do? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, I mean, there are two levels of empathy happening here. On one hand, you need to understand the way the AI platform works and what kind of instructions you give it, and the AI will respond. And Ideogram is even going a step further to say, here is your magic prompt. On ChatGPT, you could ask it a question. You could ask, here is my prompt. Please confirm if you've understood it and also what additional information you need. That is a whole kind of understanding the way the platform works and helping it to give you better results. That's one side. The other side is if you were to be dealing with an actual human being and you describe the person, you will show it to the person to say, does this description best describe you? Is there anything I've left out? Okay. And the person will give you, yes, that is me. I can see myself in the persona you've developed. So maybe for the design thinker, you now, if you want to incorporate AI into your work, you now have two conversations you are having with the real person and with the technology. And both of them requires placing yourself in their shoes so that you can get the best response as possible from them. Uh, that's how
That's a
I'm
very
beginning to feel as I
yeah,
watch the way you are doing the whole thing. I'm beginning to feel like, oh wow, you need to help people understand what we are trying to do. Yes.
right. Very interesting, isn't it? Go ahead.
So I'll just to add up to Mr. Eugen's point, I think just like every other tool, it's something that needs to be learned. It's something that needs to, I think even with the design thinking process, everybody kind of has a personal or their own approach with how they do or how they execute certain things, how they handle certain tools. So I think just in the same way, AI is something that you would need to learn. You would need to kind of see how you use it in your facilitation, how you'd use it in your research, like just like this, how you'd prompt it to get specifically what you need, right? And I think it's an interesting perspective to take it because I look forward to seeing how maybe in the next year or two, a master AI, person would handle some of these tools to be able to extract exactly what they need, as opposed to, us still finding our bearings on some things and still testing the possibilities. So yeah, it's intriguing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's move on in the interest of time. So we have a persona who has there are certain if you will requirements that we need to put into building the wallet for this person. All right. So in here, in the previous prompt, we saw things like can you increase the font size a little bit? We saw things like um okay. Yeah. Yes, there you go. Accessibility, organization, security, technology integration, and so forth. In an ideal world, these will be what comes out of the research. This is our pre-research, our list of pre-research requirements that we got from ChatGPT. Now, for a moment, let's jump ahead and think of them as our post-research insights that we got from the research in terms of what we need to consider in building out a potential solution, right? So the next stage will typically be, as we do the analysis, we can use an AI platform like a mind map to map these different requirements or themes to sort of explore the intersections between accessibility and organizational security and so forth. We could develop a journey map of how Sarah uses a wallet based on her situation and also her constraints. And so on the right side, this one, can you show the journey map template? In Mural, we look for a journey map template and it came out to be this, right? So again, this is sort of using templates and systems and so forth to support the process. In a traditional post-it note and marker design thinking session, you will give people post-it notes, they'll draw these things out, and then they will put the journey on there. Here, you can sort of generate a template, and then people would move things around, and then include additional post-it notes and so forth, and layer the journey, not just the top one, the top blue line. Can you zoom in a little bit? The top blue line talks about sort of the user's journey, and then the rest, the rows behind the rows support the user experience, right? And as you know, journey maps are normally broken into before, during, and after. And here they have labels at the top that are a bit different, but it's sort of the same idea.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, this one, I think we should skip this and go forward to a world where we have these requirements and we need to actually design a wallet, right? So let's go back to the AI that will help us finalize on the design of the wallet. So in the wallet exercise, the one that is traditionally done, you design the wallet, you go do the interview, you have insights. Now you design based on the insights, right? So now we have some requirements, we have a description of the persona. Let's go and see what type of wallet AI proposes for us.
Okay. All right. So since we have the context of Sarah already, and then the upside of ChatGPT is that it follows the entire conversation we had. So although at this point we're still finding the right context for Sarah, it has already generated the 5 key points that we mentioned earlier. So now we could ask it to help us visualize those previous suggestions that it made into a prompt that we can now take into ideogram to visualize. So generate prompt that helps us visualize Sarah's before I write, so it's short to prompt.
Like you're having a conversation with ChatGPT and you're saying, based on the previous input,
Yeah.
generate a prompt for us, and it's going to go back and incorporate all of these characteristics that it laid out earlier. That's what's happening here.
Yeah. So just based off that prompt as well, it has generated, so visualize Sarah, a 30-year-old mother, carefully selecting a specialized wallet tailored to her unique needs. Picture her examining the wallet's accessibility features, ensuring it's easy to retrieve and store items like business cards. Notice her interest in the wallet organization, seeking compartments to keep her essentials neatly arranged amidst her busy schedule. Imagine Sarah valuing the wallet security, looking for features that safeguard her belongings while she navigates her professional and personal life. See her appreciating the technology integrations, seeking the wallet that seamlessly connects with her smartphone and assistive devices. This prompt vividly illustrates Sarah's thoughtful approach to selecting the wallet. So in this case, I think it's still giving us some things in context of Sarah. But I'd like to take a slightly different approach that describe Sarah's ideal wallet to a designer. And then let's see what it comes up with as well. Okay. So since we took it from the design point, it's still just touching on, but it's actually giving specifics for this. So, for example, instead of just indicating that design a wallet with accessibility in mind, it's starting to give out features like consider features like magnetic closures or easy to reach compartments, incorporate multiple compartments with sections within the wallet, labeling or color coding sections that could also help with quick identification, implement security features. This could include closures like zippers, snap buttons, as well as internal pockets with secure closures, integrate technology by incorporating a smart tracker or RFID blocking material, and then, yeah, ensure the design is adaptable to different settings. So now, since we have a bit more features, we can take this, copy it. Okay, we could add in Sarah's context as well. Copy it, then just paste it in ideogram. Ideally, we could have just highlighted the key things that we needed from this, but for the sake of this exercise, we'll just do, if we were to copy directly what ChatGPT gave us and put it here, what it would come up with, versus if you, the individual, actually, read and pick out the things you know are needed, which I believe is actually one of the key points of using AI, that at the moment, you can't replace the individual with just AI. You still need to think about it. So you see, it's giving us, compared to the other pictures, there's a bit more detail on the context of the wallet, but it's still with Sarah as a focus. So now let's just pick and choose some things really quickly. Take out Sarah's context. Just pick the key features that were mentioned. So design the wallet with accessibility, consider features like magnetic closures, multiple compartments, color coding, okay. So in this context, maybe instead of just using the generic response ChatGPT gave us, like using durable materials, we could ask it to make the material a leather wallet. The wallet is a leather wallet. And sometimes because of the magic prompt approach, sometimes it's also easier to just actually type out some of these things as opposed to just ChatGPT can help you think about it, but after you've deliberated with ChatGPT, you could come and give your own inputs based on what you're looking for. So the wallet is, and then let's see what happens.
I wonder if people are thinking, don't use AI at all in design thinking at this point. They're like, no, 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 no.
Yeah. So again, now you see, since we took out Sarah's context, we have a few generations that are focused on the wallets. And then it does have some of the considerations that were popped up, which is the zippers, the space for the cards, the different compartments, the magnetic locks. So let's see. So this is one. This is another. This is a more simplistic one. Since we indicated that the wallet should be leather, it's keeping all of it in the context of it being, for example, a leather pouch. Yeah. So let me see. So here we have the magic prompt for this specific one. So it has given us a sleek and elegant leather wallet designed with accessibility in mind. The wallet features a magnetic closure, making it easy for Sarah to open and secure her essentials inside. It boasts multiple compartments with some color-coded, for quick identification, which is the green part here, if you didn't notice. There's also the white bit here. Let's see. Yeah, zippered and snap button pockets provide additional security for her cards, cash, and keys. A smart tracker is integrated into the design, ensuring that her belongings are safeguarded. The wallet exudes sophistication and organization, making it the perfect companion for Sarah's daily needs. So now we can take this prompt again, copy it, and then paste it back into ideogram to give us like even more variations of this specific wallet, or with these considerations it has generated in mind. So Foster mentioned in the chat, what are some of the ways to incorporate some level of empathy into our prompting skills when using AI in design thinking? Okay. I don't know if anybody, Prof, would have a suggestion to that, but personally, one thing I've seen is that ChatGPT has an option for you to, if you have the GPT-4, which is like their paid tier, you could actually record certain things or upload a document. So let's say you have an interview with somebody, you transcribe it, and then you actually put it into ChatGPT and then have it analyze that discussion. And then you can have a conversation with ChatGPT after that. So you cannot completely take out the human aspect, but you can build on it with ChatGPT. And yeah, if Prof or anybody else has any inputs on that as well, please feel free.
Right. So in a typical design thinking session, the reason why in a design thinking session you have flick chart sheets covering the wall or the walls is because we're moving from level to level to level, right? Levels of analysis. We got this diagram shows an interaction from an interview. Themes come out. The next diagram takes those themes and builds something else on it. The next diagram takes input from here and builds on it. And here we have GPT or whatever AI version keeping track of these discoveries and insights from the data and affording us the opportunity to build on those insights deeper and deeper. So it becomes a question of, as a designer, how do you keep track of that? Is that too much for you? Or is there a point where you are in sync with the machine? You're directing it because you're prompting your prompts, and it basically is asking you at every point. It's basically asking you at every point, what about this? What about that? Right? And you're saying, no, change this, change that. I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Basically, what I'm getting from this is that, of course, I don't do design thinking using ChatGPT at this level, right? So I'm also learning. What I was saying very quickly was that the reason why we normally will have posters and flip chart sheets covered with post-it notes on the walls is because we normally will move from analysis level to another, and for each of them we're taking insights and learnings and recreating visuals and going deeper and deeper. And here we have ChatGPT storing our levels of analysis, allowing us to drill deeper as we go along. And it's almost like you get to a point where man is in sync with machine, where you're saying, okay, I like that output, but let's change it here, let's change it there. And the question is, will the designer of tomorrow be able to get there where they remember, they don't allow the machine to take over, right? They're like, no, you got it wrong. What I really wanted you to do was to outline this or that, because that's not what the person said. Remember this other part of the transcript. Is that feasible, or would we get to a point? Because as we go through, I think you get to a point where it's almost like you give up because ChatGPT is so awesome that you're like, wow, that must be great, right? When rather you need to keep true to the data and protect the data and protect what the data is saying, protect what the insights are pointing to. So I think maybe to Foster's question, that question of empathy in prompting is basically this idea of you protecting the data and protecting the insights when you prompt, to make sure that the AI doesn't run away with the project, if that makes sense.
So also to add on to Prof's points, I think AI at the moment isn't going to completely take over the human element, because as in the example that I gave previously, where maybe you could even transcribe a recording or an interview that you did and put it into ChatGPT for insights, there's still going to be that missing element of you noticing some of the emotional spikes or the emotional reactions the person had during the interview. So, for example, in the case of Sarah, maybe although she was describing her experience as a mother, if you were just taking notes, you just say, okay, she said, things are hard, managing the child while doing a business is difficult, but she's managing. But you would notice that sense of she was very proud in her, like as she was describing her activities as a mother, or she seemed very overwhelmed with the amount of tasks that were on her that she had to manage. And these are kind of if we're looking at the empathy map, the more what they say versus what they feel versus what they do kind of aspect of things that at the moment AI cannot replicate. So in terms of prompting, you would be the one to tell us that despite the conversation or what was implied, these were the emotions that you noticed, or these were the things that you were able to pick up. And then instead of using the AI to kind of guide you, you are the one guiding the AI to actually come out with the best results. I saw some hands up. I don't know.
Yeah, so you mentioned some of the things I wanted to say, but I think I can say three things will happen. The speed with which we bring innovation is certainly going to change. It won't be the same anymore because I am trying to issue a prompt on my ideogram account, design a wallet for a handicapped communications officer. Imagine it is the year 2050. Just to see what it will generate, whether it will be different from the images we have here. What that means is that that whole process that will take a day or two to assemble a team and go through the whole design thinking process, I could shorten it with a bit of in-person conversation, just walk away, bring it to the three platforms, ChatGPT, Ideogram, or whatever it is, and then just with better prompting, get some great results, take it, and then just put a bit of human element in a much shorter time. I mean, ChatGPT learns very fast. Over time, when you start telling it, think like a human, use everyday English, do not stray from what I have, the task I've given you, it will just follow. And your work becomes faster. That's number one. Number two, it just means that we need to become more adept at understanding the way the back end of the whole technology has been programmed and know what it can do, the limitations it can get to, and what it cannot do. Once you start understanding how this whole thing is set up, you can get to the market faster. And then the third one is it also presents a lot of dangers for for the way we live. With as much as I can use the same platform to come up with very interesting things, I could also use it for very dangerous things. So that is where um, we have to find a balance between what is humanly acceptable and what is not. But for somebody who teaches design thinking, a student can easily play you out in a few minutes with this. One day, somebody will write a programming that links all of these three, issue a prompt, and say, this is the persona, this is the problem. Come up with a suitable design to solve the problem, taking note of the POV, the how might we, and this and this. When you finish, you issue the command to a 3D printer and say, give me a first printout of this idea. In 2 days, done. That's very possible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually
Now, I was going to say that, Eugene, the only saving grace for us in Africa is that you will see white people's hands somewhere and you'd be like, that's ChatGPT, dude. You know? Oh, that's AI. Otherwise, we're dead. Or it's just so awesome that it doesn't seem feasible, you know? and perhaps then we go back to forcing people to draw things, then they can still generate and then go and draw it, right? I mean, it's fascinating.
I think we're getting a bit more into the discussion point of things. So maybe it's 7:17. So maybe let's just go through. I'm seeing a number of questions in the chat so that we can finalize this process. There's a last bit on prototyping, and then we can open the floor for more discussions, if that's okay, Prof.
Sure,
Okay.
that's good. I mean, what I can do is I can quickly address Derry's question. I mean, Derry says AI can save time. I think that's true with visualization. And perhaps in the design thinking process, what we can do is we can limit AI to visualization, right? Once we go through the process manually, when we get to point where we say, okay, we need to mock something up, then we bring in AI. Maybe that's what it is. But then it's also so tempting to have AI remind us, like we were saying earlier, remind us about parts of the data that we're forgetting, right? And I think that's where mental categories comes in. So when Derry refers to meta categories, this idea that as designers we have certain things in mind, and when we confront problems, what we already know is what's going to come up. We're not going to be processing outside of the box. So in this case, is it the case that as we go along step by step with AI, the box is always open, right? We're always processing outside of the box. We're in creativity mode the whole way. And what we need to do is to figure out how to tame that excessive creativity as you go through the design thinking process, you know. But it's really interesting, and to make sure that we're using the time well. To your point, Desmond, the last point here is that normally when you go through this process, you have, for instance, on your screen, 4 different types of wallets. You have to choose one in prototyping, or you put it out for people to help you choose one, the one that responds the best to the point of view of the user. So let's quickly go there and see how you can quickly mock up a platform to then prototype your solutions. Could be a wallet, could be anything else.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So just maybe to give a bit more context on how the magic prompt helped us refine things a little. So I think now from here you can see, compared to the other stuff, we have way more kind of wallets focused generations that actually give way more detail into the design and intricacies of the wallet, right? And then now this can be, reviewed and all. So in terms of now having your visualization, I think we've got some great visualizations here. So the next step here would be, okay, now we've got an idea, we've got some form of, let me say, in this case, could be some slight touch of low fidelity prototyping. We want to test or want people to see it and give us response. So let's say we're taking this one. So now we can save this out. And then what we'll be doing is that we'd want to create something like a website or an online platform where we can just share the link to people and then give them the context of what we are trying to do. So in this case, where Sarah was our persona, Sarah is meant to embody the kind of people we are looking for this solution to solve, or for this wallet to appease to. So then comes in a new also this more like a website generator. So this was something that's I generated previously, but we could still just go back and then describe to it what kind of website or what kind of platform we want to create. So here, just for the sake of time, we'll just summarize what the discussions have been so far, which is a platform to showcase unique wallets for single mothers. And then we continue, and then it asks us what the intention of the site would be. So in the context of maybe it's an idea that you are thinking about, you want to see how many people would be interested. You could link it to getting subscribers. If it was an online platform, a digital platform where you have an app, you have a product, something online, you can link it to wherever that product is hosted. If you want people to see how many people click it, how many people reach out to you on WhatsApp, you can do that. And then if, let's say, it's about a service you're doing and then you want to schedule appointments, you can set that up as well. So for this context, I just want to use the WhatsApp example. So you click get contacted and it's asking you the phone, email, WhatsApp. So I click it, it asks for the number. I just input that and then I click generate. So what it's going to do is that it's going to literally create everything for us. So images, copy, titles, everything of the sort. And then we can see if doesn't make sense for what we are trying to do and all. And let's just give it a bit of time. But then the point here is that within a day, you could go through the entire process that we've gone through today and have an actual, responsive live site that you could share with people and already start collecting feedback from. So yes, so it ended up generating a similar thing to what we got. So you see, it's given, it has created the page, given like a sample logo, given a sample name, stylish wallets for single mothers, explore our unique connections. It has already given, sections of the wallet's design, all that stuff. And then these are things you can edit, right? So we'll need to sign in before we can edit. But then basically now when you take this, you can just replace the pictures here with the generations that you got from ideogram. So after you've refined it in ideogram, then you come into Mixo and then place these things here. And then what will happen is that then now, so now you'd actually get a live site that you could share with anyone to actually show that, oh, this is a product I have, or this is something that I'm working on. Would you be interested in it? So you can already start to see what kind of feedback people are giving you. Are people reaching out to ask? Are people actually interested? So let me see. Disable. This is the free version, so they'll not allow us to publish if it's more than one page. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
you
then
can
now,
just change one. You can just change one picture, and then we just end it there. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm just it's not a long thing. Okay, so the site is saved, and then it's doing SEO, everything, but I just want this to finish and then I'll even share it into the chat so that everybody can interact with it to see. Okay, yeah, so that's it. So now you can come in here, change whatever the content is. So stylish wallets for single mothers and their babies. You could come here, change the picture, upload an image file. Okay, let's just pick one phone. Yeah, and then change it to that. So here could be your ideogram generation, and then you can literally edit any of these. So now when you publish it, you can share the link with anyone. Once somebody clicks it, it takes them to WhatsApp to actually whatever number you give them, and the conversation can already start. So this, for prototyping, this is straightforward. You have access to all the dashboard back end to see how many people have clicked the link, how many people have maybe taken the number. You can already start to get some kind of responsive feedback over there and then see how things go. So yeah, so that's the link. Yeah. Let's put it here.
Awesome. All right. So, the world has changed. The world has changed.
Yeah, that's the WhatsApp link, and then it's already sending you to wherever the number is. Yeah, that's where we're at.
It is magic. Yeah. So I think what's going to happen is that we're going to have design thinkers who are too scared to do this, right? It's just too much. They don't know how to deal with it. and then we're gonna have design thinkers who will, like we were saying earlier, just use it for visualization, nothing more. And then we're gonna have design thinkers who dive right in and just change the way design thinking is done. Right? It's not just you empathizing, and that's the other thing here. It's not just you empathizing with the user. It is you and ChatGPT beside you empathizing with the user. I think that's, for me, that's really what it is, right? Because ChatGPT is telling you all these things, right? Like, here's the context of Sarah, and you're like, wait, oh wow, I didn't realize that her wallet needs to connect with technology because she's in like that part didn't come up, like, and that isn't that ChatGPT's empathy of Sarah,
Mhm.
or is not?
I think one thought that came up a while back while I was deliberating on this was, if you take the thinking hats, right, where you have the team members and everybody wears a hat, this also presents an opportunity for you to have AI as part of your team wearing a
That's
specific hat,
right. That's
which makes
perfect.
it more incredible, so to speak.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, AI is wearing one hat, or AI is wearing like five of the hats, and you wear one.
Mhm.
I don't know. Um, you know, that's actually a really nice way of looking at it. Very scary. Very scary. Um, I see Derry saying some stuff. You want to voice it out because we're sort of done.
So there is saying he's still on perceived advantages. So one, he cannot find a better substitution for proxy users than AI, because you can literally set up so many use case scenarios to generate and evaluate concepts and ideas. And I think this also comes back to the hat example where you could let it, I mean, within one chat, you could have it embody 5, 6 different personas. If like you are some of us where a lot of things, you're a one-man team, you could literally build an AI team with different personas, with different contexts. I think I saw one where somebody had generated something like a pitch session between Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mr. Beast, and a number of people. And every idea they gave it, those kind of AI personas had to give them feedback on that based on their individual, personalities. And it was insane. So yeah, there he has a very valid point there.
Yeah, you can literally go crazy doing this stuff. You know,
Awesome.
you can lose. You have to be careful not to lose your mind. But thoughts.
Please, I
Yeah,
think
so
at
What
this
what?
yeah, I'll make a few corrections to it. Yeah.
Okay, let's
okay, I
mute.
thought yeah.
Let's mute
Okay.
Eugene. Thoughts. There are so many people on the chat. We have some of our facilitators. I see Paulina. Let's see Foster as well. Foster was asking some questions earlier. Derry is asking. Derry, your mic is unmuted.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just going back to the title for the event, using AI in design thinking session. I think and from what I tested this morning, one thing that AI can really help us to do as facilitators is to plan for our sessions, like really give us detailed outlines, how we can set up design thinking sessions for different set of users and different scenarios. So definitely a good addition to our toolbox. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that quickly.
That's very interesting because what jumped into my mind when Derry said that is this idea of you and your AI going through the whole process of a project before you start it. Right? And so it's like
I would have showed, but I need to set it up.
Yeah.
So let's.
Your line is, I don't know if your line that's breaking on mine.
I was saying that there's one more tool I would have wanted to showcase just to Derry's points, like specifically to that point. But I need to set it up. So you can go ahead while I do.
Okay, sure. So Derry, I mean, so this idea that, you know, you have a contract, or you're running maybe AI in a specific area of health, let's say some type of cancer, or how to do better immunizations, and you literally use AI to go through the whole design process, different personas, different angles, different types of ideas before you start the project. Is that a bad thing?
Yeah, so that's what I was saying in my
That's what you're saying.
Like in the first post, the first question that I posted about mental categorization, because I think it's one of those things that it has advantages and disadvantages at the same time. The advantage here is that it means you are literally simulating everything, and you are better prepared for the project even before you start. But the risk is that whatever idea
is Derry breaking up, or that's me? It's me.
But the risk is that whatever you are starting with, if you are not very open-minded, you might just get pinned to that box or that way of thinking, and it might be more difficult for you to break away. So in the same vein, is there a way AI can help us with new perspectives as we go on? So like what you were saying, you probably didn't think of a wallet having those tech features, but AI showed you, and so now you started thinking about that. So yeah, those kind of things. You have advantages, you can simulate everything, be better prepared, but maybe you start with something and you keep giving prompts and it keeps giving you what you want. And so because of that, you just stick to one lane and you probably don't look at other perspectives. That's how I see it at the moment.
Right. So you need to be mature to use AI. You need to be able to, what we call name your biases, put and lock them away when you use AI. Where a team is going down a path and you're so itching to tell them where that, this is where it's going to lead to. I think you should go this way, but you can't because you're a facilitator. It's almost like if you've seen what they are doing already. You've seen it to the end because AI took you there in your dream, if you will. I mean, it's not in your dream, but and now you're back from dreamland, and you are facilitating, and people are doing what you've already seen.
Yeah, so that element of newness, it can kill it, and I don't know what disadvantage that adds to the whole design thinking process.
I think one question that's I'll throw to everybody here, which I've been curious about, is in the premise where there are resource constraints and there are some things that are more costly than others, so to speak, and they take time. Right now we're looking at it at the context of time, but then in the context of resource management, where let's say you had to, in the context of the personas, we needed to travel to a particular region to meet with a particular kind of person or set of people, and the resource requirements of that versus just, simulating that. Maybe we just needed some POVs from them. The context of just simulating them with AI as opposed to going that length So where maybe going there would have given you 100% of what you needed, but with AI, you could simulate about 70%. In a situation like that, is there a pro and a con? Is it half-assing your work? What are the thoughts on that? Please, was I heard?
Yeah, so it's this idea that I'm missing something in the description, but this idea that I missed something in what you said about so AI takes you to that next level, sort of.
Mm-hmm. So not basically in the context of using AI to kind of reduce some of your resource needs. So to say,
Resource needs, yes, I remember.
if you had to go out to actually do something and you could simulate it, is it
Right.
actually worth us to do it anymore? Right.
Right. So I think Eugene made a point earlier about how the value of having people engaging with people is that you can have that iterative experience with them where where they're giving you feedback and saying, no, actually I don't like blue. The reason why I choose red is because it doesn't get dirty easily or something like that. And that's something that AI cannot do for you because prompting is almost like you have to, I don't know. Maybe AI can do that. Maybe you have that. Maybe I can do that. But I think then it's also, I think, something that Foster said that yes, it pulls from databases. And so perhaps, yes, it's taking you outside the box, but it's still from the box, and it's not generating something completely new.
You're on a
I wonder
tangent.
if that's right. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but so the danger there will be that you will then be dealing with things that already exist, doing level 2, level 3 empathy, building on insights that you're getting because you are interacting with a human who's showing surprising insights as you go along.
Yeah, so if I may just chip in, three
Yeah.
things. The first one, sometimes ChatGPT can give you so much, and forgive my French, so much rubbish, even when you give the most intelligent prompt, that you just abandon it and then move on to do something else. It can, especially when you are building a conversation with ChatGPT, you think you're on your way. The first responses are intelligent or may not be so intelligent, and then you keep refining. Then you get to a point where you are bringing a new scenario, which is built upon the first scenario. You want ChatGPT to understand that we are just building on this. Then it goes off tangent, and from there it's downhill. That's one of the things that keeps happening with ChatGPT, number one. Number two is the way when you are interacting with a human being, you can keep showing them what you can keep the conversation built upon one another. You can keep building the conversation based on the previous one and still keep getting meaning, if not all the time guaranteed. And that's where humans are superior. Okay. Then the third thing is how very often people can say one thing and do something else. People say something, but their behavior shows something different. That is a typical behavior of human. You can look in between and you begin to find insight into the way they think and do. All right. You can begin to find meaning from what they said. Somebody is living in the house with 3 children and says, maybe I say, meanwhile, you see children in the house, the meaning you can generate or the insight you can generate is probably these children are here, but they don't play any important role in her life or that kind of thing. That is also something the AI platforms, no matter how intelligent they are, will miss. And this is where you always need to really understand what AI is there for. It is an enabler. It is a kickstarter. It can't do the real things humans are supposed to do. Because even body language during the empathy stage is a whole ton of information. AI doesn't know that. Even if you feed it into the prompt, it may miss the
It may not know
insight.
how to
Yeah,
run
yeah.
this.
So no matter how AI gets it at the basis, it is an enabler and a kickstarter. It can kickstart your process for you so you go faster, or it can enable you to do things in a much more in a much faster way than your everyday. But if you are talking about real innovation, desirability, feasibility and viability can sit down, but desirability, the humans have to still really play a big role in that. So I'm just trying to feed into what you were trying to explain to show how much the human element always will trump the capability of the AI.
Yeah, I mean, we've been blown away by how ChatGPT and ideogram are generating things. But at the end of the day, you're like, wait, that was great, but then there's so much you need to do to make corrections. I mean, look at how the wheelchair inclusion of the concept of disability just completely moved the concept away from wallets, right? In the, at least in the visual depiction. So clearly, AI is great, but we're greater. That's the idea. That's one, we're greater.
Yeah,
Yes,
we are
Yeah, I can hear
greater.
you.
yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yes. I wanted to chip in something about this AI models. I've been using it quite for some time now. And from my experience, I think everything boils down to how you prompt it and how you refine your prompt. So it's basically AI is a stimulating tool, right? So anything you give it is sort of like garbage in, garbage out. So you have to make sure that your garbage in covers almost all the areas that you want to really touch on. So, like for example, Desmond was talking about resource restricted areas, and he wanted to do a lot of simulation. So, your prompts should cover for whatever you are missing, basically, in order to get a good output and a good resource. And also, with the human aspect, like from engineering perspective, you can use AI to sort of to be a guide in making a decision, like in the aspect of design thinking, cases where you have to, describe the emotions of the persons and all that. You can just put in the statement, and you can put in a prompt, and you can channel your prompt for the AI to be like a psychologist and tell the AI to be like predict the mood. It could be right, it could be wrong, but at least it also you can use it to confirm whatever you are also feeling. If it's not right, you can just give the AI thumbs down. If it's right, then you can pick it that way. So basically, you just have to find a balance in how you use it, how you kind of fine tune your prompt to suit your purpose. So basically, like if you want to see emotions, we know that emotions, the best people to know emotions in the world are like psychologists. So you tell the AI to act like a psychologist. So maybe as a psychologist, the prompt will be like, as a psychologist, analyze these statements and predict how this person is feeling, maybe in happy, sad, or something. So maybe it can give you some prompt, and after it all, you decide which one you want to choose. So basically, that's the balance I've been using it. I've been doing for quite some time now.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Thank you, Foster. Again, this idea of AI being an assistant, right? Yeah. I mean, we can go on and on, but at some point we need to.
This
Yeah,
so this
please.
the other one I was talking about. So I think
Okay.
I would also like to touch on and emphasize on the fact that at the moment, ChatGPT is not the only tool, right? If let's say you are doing like Mr. Eugene mentioned, if you are doing some level of research where that needs references or citation, please don't use ChatGPT. It would come up, it would imagine things for you. That's one of its known weaknesses, that it goes more on the creative side of certain things sometimes than actually it's being based on research or facts or citations. But then in that context, right now, Microsoft Copilot works. I think Meta AI just came out recently, and apparently it's also doing much better than ChatGPT in some of these more specific regards. And then in the same way, again, AI is a tool, and as it being a tool, it's a very versatile tool. But just like Foster mentioned, it doesn't, at the moment, it's not a complete replacement for a lot of things. It's just there to facilitate for a number of things. And even with that, there are other tools that work better when facilitating some of these things. So one of my personal tools, like favorite tools right now, is it's called Copy AI. So what it does slightly differently from ChatGPT is that it has workflows, and then you give it a prompt, and then it basically creates its logic that it's using to create the prompt, or it's using to give you the prompts, right? And you can actually review the logic to see if it makes sense. So there's like a more detailed version of ChatGPT where you have access to the backend. So in this, I had given it a prompt to actually act as a design thinking facilitator or facilitate design thinking session. It gave out its logic that it does, that it will need you to give it an input. So what session or what are the class details of the people going to be, which it has outlined here. And what will be the design challenge that the students would work on, and is it based on any existing material? And then, so that's the only input it will need from you. But then now, based on that input, this is the logic that it has come up with, where it has told itself that read through the existing materials, extract the key steps involved in a typical design process in sequential order, only return the list of steps. And then it's also creating its own persona, which you can edit. So it has done that for each of these steps, and then they build off each other. So for example, in the explanation of the steps, it's referring to the extracted steps in the previous, let me say, logic flow. And then after doing that, you see the prompt it has given it, the persona it has given itself here is you are an expert at facilitating design thinking with students. For each key step in the design thinking process, you need to write 1 or 2 sentences, explanations that break down what that steps entails into a simple language. Then it goes on to create facilitation guide for each of those steps that you've indicated. So once you run it or you test it, this was a typical one. So say a design thinking masterclass with design thinking facilitators. The challenge was, just for the context of this session, to design a wallet for their partners, and it's based on the design thinking wallet exercise. And it's going to give you all the first steps is just breaking down the design thinking process for itself. It's still going to explain it in this context. And then now at the bottom, it's actually giving you everything you need to facilitate your session. So for example, in this case, in the empathize section, the suggested prompts or questions. Imagine you are your partner for a day. What are their needs? What are their experiences when using a wallet? Interview your partner about how they currently use their wallet. What works well? What frustrations do they have? The tips for you as the facilitator in this case, and any materials that you, the facilitator, might need. And it has broken it down for each of these like sections, right? And then from this, it still has a more detailed facilitation guide where it's now giving you what time the section will take, a breakdown of the students' numbers. So in this case, it's making it 20 college freshmen with no prior design experience, the brief, the process, the explanation, how to go about the facilitation guidance. I mean, this one is usually more structured, and yeah, personally, I've seen that it makes a lot more sense than ChatGPT for a number of things. And since you also know the flow or the logic it's using, you can go and edit these prompts yourself to change whatever persona is doing. So for example, instead of tips for common challenges, you can do tips for advanced challenges if your class is of a higher class. So if there's a flaw in its logic, it gives you access to go into the process flow of what the AI is going to use to generate your results to also kind of fine tune those things, which, yeah, I think it's an insane tool, but as usual, like every other tool, it takes a bit of a learning curve. But I think something like this, where my previous example of at the point in code seeing an AI master, it will be crazy to actually think about the things people can come up with. Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you, Desmond. Yeah, so there we have it, folks. We can just close our eyes and look the other way and be like, you know what? Nah, this is just too much. Or we can approach it, bring it in piecemeal, like we said, only do visualizations, right? I have a really nice prompt on the table. We're using post-it notes and markers, and we arrived at it. Now, everybody, 5 minutes, develop, use AI to develop the best sort of visualization for this and present. And then you do it for different steps of the design thinking process and only for that. Or you can just decide that you're going to have an assistant working with you. And in that, I think you can even do it two ways, right? Why an assistant that nobody else interacts with but you, and she is beside you, that's your AI. Or you can be brave enough to then have people interact with this assistant that you have, which is sort of what we're doing here, right? But you have to be super careful in going down that route. Like you have to, like you're saying, an AI master, an AI DT master. In fact, when we're talking to our facilitators about this in February, we said we need to start training facilitators to be AI assisted DT facilitators, whatever that means, because we can't just sit there and do nothing. So there you have it. Desmond, last words.
I think today was to actually show the context of, as it said in the title, what an AI assisted, design thinking session could look like. And I would make a point that in the most famous words I heard from Marcus Brownlee, if anybody watches him, he's a tech reviewer. He said that this is the worst AI is ever going to be because every day is going to get better. So where AI stands today, it's the kind of worst and in quotes baddest it could be or it would ever be. So in the next week, in the next month, in the next year, in the next 5 years, we cannot even imagine it because I'll just put it as a reminder that AI came out about a year and a half ago, give or take, yeah. And within less than 2 years, it's literally changing everything. It's being integrated into IoT, it's being integrated into, AR and VR, being integrated into our daily lives. It's literally disrupting industries in just a short span of 2 years. So, in our space, in our field, like Doc has been saying, are we going to use it? Are we going to resist it? And if so, for how long? Or are we going to embrace it? And then if we are, in what way? Right? So yeah, it's an intriguing conversation. I think it's been a very, very good session. Thank you everybody for their contributions. Prof, over to you.
All right. So yeah, thank you so much, Desmond. This has been great. We have so many other topics for our monthly meetups. There are a lot of facilitators that have come up with these topics and are preparing to engage our audience with it. What I like about our monthly meetups, we used to do them in person before COVID, and we haven't really gone back yet. We'll try and do some in person. But what I like about them is that we record them. And so, in many ways, they are still really good resources to go back to that the facilitators can share with others to just sort of, be vessels of knowledge. So thank you so much, Desmond, for all the great work in bringing us this excitement of what AI can do, and I really hope that we get to the point where some of us, I hope to be one of them, would be AI assisted design thinking facilitators. I think we really need those kinds of capacities in the ecosystem. So thank you so much, everybody, and until next time.